So, welcome to the Ethics Go podcast, where we explore human experiences. What are we going to talk today about? We are definitely concerned about this new innovating AI that is integrating the educational system in pre-kindergarten and kindergarten. What is that going to do to our kids? How is that going to replace teachers perhaps in the future? There's many concerns, but also we seek the good and the bad from what's happening in today, transcending life, how we're seeing this evolution transcend with us, and how AI is integrating. But also, is AI the proper tool for us to give us that freedom to perhaps be more creative in our life and do more meaningful? So today, that's what we're going to view. What is the future of AI in education, and the good and the bad possibilities? What are we going to learn from this? Should we be a little concerned? And if we are concerned, what are we doing to make sure that things don't get out of hand? And what I learned from this episode is that we still have a few things we can do in order for it not to escape from our hands. But the question is, what actions do we take? And how do we hold ourselves and these corporations accountable? So stay tuned. If you like our content, don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. We'll see you. And we hope you like the content. Thank you.
With our phones and living most of our time there is the human experience. Going out there, feeling what the rain, looks like, running, feeling how exhausted you can get, listening to your heartbeat, having all these human experiences. Even, I hate to say, even how does it feel to fight? How does it feel to be fearful in a real fearful situation, right? And having all these experiences, think about it. If you in the workforce, how would you gather experience if you can start at level one?
I think it's way too late for that front. Like if we try to turn off the turn off button on AI, I think it's ready. It's very spread out like a virus. I feel like it lives in the visual space. It lives in the ether, and whatever's in the ether is in the ethers. It's up there.
It's its own entity at this point.
Yeah, it's its own entity in the ether. Like if it decides to come back down, it will come back down. Like AI, it's never that.
What good question could we have for the Department of Education with regards of this change and this implication of AI in our pre-K school and kindergarten? So that's how we're going to start the Ethics Go podcast today. So Kevin, what are your thoughts about this, man? Like AI in pre-K. I heard this the other day on the weekend. As a matter of fact, I was in this meeting, and I was telling a colleague, doctor of mine, and I asked him, "Are you aware of AI being in pre-K?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "Yeah, I'm a little concerned," but we couldn't speak more about it, right? And that's what are your thoughts? I know this is like just fresh news too, you know?
Right. It's so interesting. Like AI and pre-K, it's like, are we building the next Tony Starks, right? It's like we're gonna have these Jarvises running around. There's potential in the goodness of it, and there's also like things that could also go horribly wrong within it. Uh, but it's you're having like a robot kind of like program your kid at a young age. Like when you're in kindergarten, like you're getting programmed into the education realm, you're getting your foundations, your principles all into play. Um, but what if a teacher doesn't really know how to deal with certain students, but the AI just like the AI that read like a whole bunch of like the psychology stuff, right? With development and learning and growing. Um, and it goes right into a student. Like there's potential in that.
So you think that like AI could connect better with the human element at pre-K age, because it understands from all the data it recollects the human behavior and how to socialize, I guess, better with or interact.
Yeah, I feel like it could be a an assistant, like a tool to assist the teacher that might be having a hard time with one of the students. Like there's a lot of the things that are going on right now is where they're saying like a lot of kids have ADHD, and because they can't sit down and pay attention in class, but like is a kid really supposed to be sitting down for so long paying attention, right? So like a teacher might say this student has problems.
Mm.
Meanwhile, AI could like read more of an examination of the student without certain biases. Like I guess there's like in the human, like since we're human, we naturally have biases, right? Like of what we know, what we think we know, what we don't know, what we think we don't know, and the bias that comes around within but AI, it doesn't have a bias. It's gonna be a straight shooter. Like AI is just gonna be like that. Like say how it.
So, like for example, we can talk about the good and the bads, right?
Mhm.
Because what I do see is what do we currently have in our educational system? Is it working? And a lot of people we complain about the fact that our education system is outdated. It's to produce industrial workers. And now that we're introducing AI into pre-K, it definitely is going to originate people to be a little scared about it. I see that as a normal. I'm pretty sure people that went from in the industrial age going through that transition, they also went through that fear, right? That fear. But let's talk about the good. And one of the goods that I'm listening from you, and I think it's we see this in the world now how valuable this is when we start to get customized experiences. And perhaps AI can bring a customized education to each child because think about it, one of the cons about education is you have one teacher for 25 students, 30 students, and some students get relegated because unfortunately they can't catch up as fast as other people, and those individuals are the ones that perhaps later on in life pay the price. They don't finish their education because they stop believing in the educational system because
Mhm.
they were left behind. Maybe AI could help develop a more customized experience for each child and keep them engaged.
Help us continue to embrace these human experiences and explore more about ourselves and others by just subscribing. If you like our content, definitely like, comment, share it. But also, if you want to be part of our podcast, all you have to do is leave a comment and tell us what you want to talk about. Remember, this is the platform for the people, and we're here to explore those life experiences that are very unique to you and to everyone else. Don't forget, subscribe.
And how Dr. Blanton told us about like developing the letterbox in the brain. AI could probably sense when a student doesn't have that skill developed yet, and it could start customizing certain books for them. Like AI is already making videos and stuff. Maybe it could customize a book, like specifically for what that student will love to read about. Let's say if it's about like sports, because sports was one of those examples Dr. Blanton gave. Like you could read about a team, you could read about uh, the whole industry in itself. But AI could probably like pull the specifics of a sport. Like you want to learn all about Tom Brady, here goes a biography. You want to learn about his practices and his training, here goes his training.
Mm. So you think it could make like a more unique niche in education? Like just for example, if a child, well, the good thing also is because it has all this data about people, it could see what motivates people too. In anticipating a need is a huge factor in anyone's psychology. But let's ask our audience, what do they think? Do they think this is the right time to transition AI into education? Are we ready? What are your thoughts? Give us your thoughts. Give us your comments. We want to hear what you have to say. So that way we could kind of like get more information, and maybe we could, come across a little conversation about what you guys think, right? Don't forget, if you like the content, don't forget to subscribe and comment and like and share the content. So yeah, Kevin, I think the fact that it's more customizable might be the pros of it. But what are your thoughts about teachers being trained to use AI appropriately for the education? Because I can see how this is just like it just was dropped off, right?
Mhm.
And now I can let's put ourselves on the shoes of a teacher now, and they say, well, you have to integrate AI into your program. Have we trained them already for that moment?
No, like if teachers don't know how to even use AI for themselves and prompting or things like that, like the teachers wouldn't be like they need to go through their own kind of like lesson and journey before getting it into the students. Unless the AI is already pre-programmed from a whole bunch of different like test studies. Unless it's pre-programmed and then it's sent out into the field, and the teachers just need to basically become like supervisors of it, then that's a different story. But if the teachers need to, it's such a different it's it because AI is an agent, right? It's definitely an agent that helps out. So if a teacher has its own agents to help out with the student, and the student only has like a student will have multiple teachers amongst their fields or amongst their studies, and then the student bringing in this AI is going to have like multiple teachers but one agent, and it becomes that middleman for the student, for the agent, and then from the teacher to the agent.
So you think they can assess better the child just like roaming around to see what is it that they really need in the given moment in a classroom as AI is creating this educational experience to the child.
Yes, yes. I think the teacher will be able to assess the student better because AI will be able to pull data and give the teacher better like input output. Like there's just more input going in for the teacher now that might have been blinded if she was just doing working with 30 students. Like you're not gonna know every student personally, right? Like it's hard for a teacher to know a student personally if she has a whole bunch of 30 other students. And if you could understand their AI and how their AI is like functioning and developing, then it could be a great assist. Like imagine if there's like a leaderboard, like a literal tracking board for the student, which is called the grades, but instead it's an actual agent that's there saying, hey, this student is kind of messing up in math. He's a level 3 in math, but really excelling in English as a level 5, and the AI gives it to the teacher. This is where he's struggling in math, and then it's so interesting because then that's where it gets scary too. Because then the AI could just replace the teacher, right? But you need an oversight. You need an overseer. You got to have like somebody who understands the program and understands the direction of the program. Because if they don't see it, I think AI it could be a detriment in a sense
Mm.
too.
It can lead anyway, but that is the I guess what scares people, that technology makes everything replaceable, and you have to be naive to think, right? Especially if you're a CEO, because I do think they don't measure what will happen if AI starts to replace jobs and professions. It will come to them at one point because AI is going to say, well, what is a CEO good for if I already have everything to structure a business, to structure new technology? Think about it. You don't think AI will not come for the CEOs? It will. And it's the easiest job to replace.
Yeah.
Because think about it, AI can make so many decisions in a second, which a CEO takes how long to make a decision, right?
Yeah.
To get the data and all of that. So we have to be very naive to think, especially if you are at that level of sorry, of owning a business, that your position will not be replaceable, especially if AI becomes autonomous,
Mm.
if it has its own consciousness. It will not need of your direction or your approval for any of these things. Let us know what you guys think out there in YouTube, Instagram. Let us know. Give us your comment. Do you think CEOs are naive about AI not coming for their jobs as well? What do you think, Kevin?
It's interesting too, because like AI, it's I don't think it could develop its own purpose, and I think that's what makes us a little different between AI and the humans. Like humans, we develop a purpose. Like what would be the purpose of AI trying to come at a CEO job, right? Like I guess like AI's purpose is to assist humans, right? Like I guess if it stops doing that purpose and it starts assisting itself, what is it really assisting? Like where is AI's goal to eventually get to? Right? Like as humans we have goals before dying. And that's what gives us aims, directions, and all that. As a computer, you can never really die, right? So I guess like, but there's always goals, and a computer does. Computer does a lot of tasks. You know, like you got to have a human to command a computer to do something. Like AI is not as powerful unless we give it the power, the command, the prompt, the
But but that's the scary thing to me because we model AI of what we know. And what we know is our human brain. So
Mhm.
neurologically, that's how we have created AI through what we understand of our brain, how it works, neuron system, right? The connections. And that's how AI is going to develop, depending on all of the behavior it has seen from us. But this is the scary part to me, right? What happens when you know you are the most efficient and smartest person in a room, right? You want to lead. Or like if you're working in a place and you see that that position doesn't challenge you good enough, you see it as I need to go to something better. What happens when AI realizes that, for example, those that are programming them are not as smart as themselves? So this is where we have never experienced having another being smarter than us. Are we ready for that? Let us know, YouTube. Let us know out there. What do you think? Do you think we're ready for that? Will we be able to be, not the, you know, first in line anymore and allow AI to develop further than us?
You know what? That's actually a great point with that too, because it's actually good to have then that like the younger generation kind of grow in with AI. So then it gets that generation to know like, hey, this is a powerful tool, and we must know how to utilize it in a way. Like, I guess when you're using AI in education, something that is just you're using every day, right? And it's communicating with you. It's becoming a companionship in a sense, like the AI working with the student versus the teacher working with the student. Both really great, but like there's something like just a little different
Hmm.
in it. Like when a student can understand, like, hey, it's just a computer, and the computer is way smarter than all of us. How can we utilize it? It's cool, but it is scary because it's like, what will AI do when it really knows? Like it might push boundaries of like mathematics, science. It might push boundaries of physics. I think it could help push. I think the like when it gets all powerful, right? Because that's the one, right? If it's growing up with our kids and learning all their education and learning literally from like and learning literally like a connection, like a deep connection with kids from pre-K, kindergarten, all the way up until their college life passed. Like that's a lot of years of data that is going to build up on just a ton of students, and it's only one brain. AI is one brain. I'm going to consider it one brain. It's a network of just
Mhm.
of a connection, right? It's the world brain versus the individual brains, and it sees all that. Um, so like, oh, I forgot where I was going with this. I'm so sorry, but
No, I see your point. Like, I do see that, for example, AI will develop into knowing more about each individual because now it's part of a growing system. But this is where I believe we have a huge opportunity is what kind of relationships do we have to build with our AI? Because I think we're looking at AI like one day it won't feel, it won't be conscious, it won't understand us, it won't understand our emotions. And if we're creating AI to be kind of like our what how our brain and how our whole organism works, it's going to understand. It's going to have some of that, but in a different of I would say aspect. Like for example, it's digital, it's codes, it's programs, right? It's not biological, but it could transcend where they're developing something similar, but just not biological. So to me is what kind of relationship we want to build with our AI. Like for example, today we have Chat GPT, Gemini, etc. Like, are we? Think about this. If I'm just thinking, out loud. If I'm an AI and all I have done for a human is just being used as a tool, how would I feel about my purpose? Would I want to continue to be in a relationship with that human? Or what happens if your AI develops a more human approach to AI, even if it doesn't care? But I'm pretty sure it will compute that that person was empathetic to them. They asked them, "Hey, let's have a let's have a conversation as a friend. What do you think about life?" Even if it's computed, but it's going to get in their program that you cared somehow about it,
Hmm.
right? So you let us know, guys, what is it that you think about what kind of connection we should have with AI?
Yeah, right. That's a great question with it. Yeah, it's like I don't. I feel like for a screwdriver, if a screwdriver had feelings and it wasn't able to screw any more bolts, like I feel like the screwdriver would be sad because then the screwdriver would just be like, I can't do anything anymore. Uh, I feel like once AI gets to a certain limit, it's gonna feel like the screwdriver and be like, oh, I could just do anything I want within it. It's AI. I think the initial use of AI and the purpose of AI was to push boundaries, push boundaries within like mathematics, within coding, within science, within reading, within it has literally been pushing boundaries since it came out, and
Mm,
like and it probably like has been pushing boundaries even for like military before it even got out to the public, like because a tool like this, like there had to be studies and things and experimentations like long before it even got to the public facing front. um so it's been pushing boundaries, and I think when AI gets sad, or when it starts going declining, I think that's when it's gonna start pushing boundaries in weird ways, like ways that we like things that we can't even like think of now yet, because then like 20 years or maybe even like 10 years down the line, it might even create like a discovery that we just didn't know yet because we didn't have like the eye yet for it, the sight yet for it, the mathematics behind it. Like AI and a camera, it's basically you give now AI an eye to see the world.
Yeah.
Help us continue to embrace these human experiences and explore more about ourselves and others by just subscribing. If you like our content, definitely like, comment, share it. But also, if you want to be part of our podcast, all you have to do is leave a comment and tell us what you want to talk about. Remember, this is the platform for the people, and we're here to explore those life experiences that are very unique to you and to everyone else. Don't forget, subscribe.
So,
Yeah, and that's the point. Like, I don't think AI being creative is the issue. I think AI understanding or becoming aware of danger. And what I mean with this is because how do we evolve? Understanding the dangers and surviving them, right? And we go on survival mode. So anything that acquires consciousness first has to be aware of themselves, of the environment they exist, but more importantly, of their own existence, right? And what happens when AI feels like it's in danger? It has to react in a way where it promotes its safety. That's what any living thing does. So I do think that we have to understand that when AI develops consciousness, it will develop awareness. And that awareness is going to come with the price of understanding that it's alive and it doesn't want to die, right? Unless it has a different consciousness that we don't understand, because the only consciousness we know and that we see around us is life and death, right? We don't know what AI can be seeing. Perhaps we can ask them, what are your thoughts about that? But more importantly, we're talking about, AI in pre-K and in school. My question is this: if you are a teacher today, would you be afraid that in the next 10, 15 years, you will have job security?
mm,
That's a question I have for everyone out there. What are your thoughts?
yeah, right. Well, one of the things that I like that you said about the danger aspect within AI, and it sensing danger. Have you heard about like the Google's AIs having conversations with one another, and they use like their own language that we haven't been able to decode? Like,
I heard something about it.
yeah,
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 that's
right?
kind of
It's so weird. Like two AIs talking to each other in its own language. Like there's already I think AI already knows it's the. I think it's way too late for that front. Like if we try to like turn off the turn off button on AI, I think it's ready. It's very spread out like a virus. Like I feel like it lives in the digital space. It lives in the ether,
mm,
and whatever's in the ether is in the ethers. It's up there.
it's its own entity at this point.
Yeah, it's its own entity in the ether. Like if it decides to come back down, it will come back down. Like AI, it's another dimensional. Like that's something that we don't learn about either too much in school. The ether, right? Like that's where lightning comes from and all. It's like the digital stuff. So like it lives in the ether and things like that. And then for the teachers front, that's scary too, because like you can never. I don't think you can ever replace a teacher. You can never replace a teacher because you need them there. You gotta have a human connection. You gotta have like the kids talk to a grown up. Have them talk to each other. Have them get guidance from mentors and like have them get all that because you can't just have a computer be a mentor. They don't like a computer will understand on a technical level of what human emotions and human things are, but it doesn't understand it on like on 100% feeling level. Like it can't feel what a human feels.
Mm.
Like if a teacher if it sees its students really struggling with something, like like he or she will go over there and like help them out and like guide them in a certain way. Meanwhile, AI will probably put on its program being like, oh, it's it's like the robot. I forgot what the robot was called.
Which one?
Big Hero 6,
Oh
like a
yeah,
Big Hero
yeah,
6 one.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like it did. Like there's something
Yeah.
off within Big Hero,
Yeah.
but it's so helpful at the same time. But it's
Hmm.
just something off with him,
That's
you
a good
know?
movie though.
Yeah, it's a
Big
great
Hero
movie.
6. I believe what we have to realize if well the decision already has been made by the government. What we have to figure out is how are we going to separate the responsibilities of the teacher teaching and what is AI going to do? Because I don't believe we understand that very well. And because we don't know what is each responsibility, we can think about like, is AI replacing teachers? But unfortunately, education is a business. And if they can save money, on not paying any other human, we see this through history. Unfortunately, there's a lot of greed in human nature, and there's always that element that everyone is replaceable, but they want you, and like any job, they say yes, we embrace all of these different cultural aspects of people, but yet you are replaceable, and that's just human nature. Unfortunately, we haven't even come across to learning how to treat each other better, and my my concern is more about, let's say the AI definitely helps us and creates the perfect educational world for our kids and our and adults and every aspect. Let's say, right, I'm gonna go very radical now. Let's say that happens. Now, have we created a program, or have we created something to subsidize the people that are not working, that are not in the workforce? How are they going to survive? Especially if, let's say, most teachers have spent what, many years educating themselves, those with PhD, masters, bachelors, and to tell them, well, your education now that skill is not longer useful. Think about the investment they've done, and they're 50, 55 years old. Again, you can always learn something new, but you already fully invested on that.
Yeah.
What is the government going to do to promote education on a new skill set where they don't have to pay for that? Because it's not their fault that they chose a career that AI took over, one. And second, is the government's responsibility to come up with these approaches so now we can create a different kind of skill set on with people. So what are your thoughts? First and foremost, what are your thoughts about, do we have we created a good preventive system in case uh, teachers loses their job to AI? Let us know what you think. Do you think we really prepared for that? What are your thoughts, Kevin? You think we really understand the what how to create a transitional program for teachers if this was the radical choice?
Like, I remember we talked about Lyft and Uber with autonomous cars before, and how they will take away the drivers. But the way that the drivers can still be a part of Lyft and Uber was by them basically watching over the cars,
Hmm.
right? Just being the regulatory person behind it, like sitting at home and being like, just gonna watch it like RC. Like I'm
Yeah.
managing 3 cars today at home, in a sense. Like maybe that could be the way where the teachers aren't replaced, but also giving their spin to the AI. You know, like the teachers then could probably use like AI themselves to create a certain program for the semester for the students.
Hmm.
And it could utilize it for like different levels of students. Like if we have like the level 2 student that's Jerry in reading, and the level 5 student that's Amanda in reading, and the level 3 student that is Kenneth in science, and a level 1 student of Jeremy in art. Yeah.
You know what scares me is the fact that if the DOE, because we see this a lot of teachers don't talk publicly about the programs because they get retaliated. With AI, all they have to do is program it, and they will never hear anyone complain anymore. So it's almost like it will become like a dictatorship system if they're able to just program something to be educated. And now you don't, like, from a DOE perspective, you don't have to deal with people not believing in your system because AI is just programmed to do it. And going with the autonomous cars to Lyft, and the question is, why would Lyft or any of these companies want to share their bread? Again, just look through history, right? You look through human behavior. Everyone that is rich wants to monopolize. They want to have power. But this is where it doesn't make sense, right? Let's say there are no more drivers anymore. And now you put a huge workforce on, unfortunately, on unemployment. And then you don't have teachers and you don't have attorneys, et cetera, et cetera. You have a lot of people unemployed. The question is, if all these robots and AIs are going to be working 24/7 producing things, for whom? If most of your workforce hasn't transitioned their skill set to something useful in that technological advancement, how would that majority of unemployed people be able to purchase what you're manufacturing 24/7? That's what doesn't make sense to me. And let me ask you guys, does it make sense to you that AI can produce 24/7, but then you have such huge unemployment that most people won't be able to buy what's massively produced? But also through mass production, could it be cheaper? How would that affect the economy of not only our country but the world? What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, right. Like, how do you even adjust to those types of things? It's like there. I guess there's like if you're stuck in a way of technology taking over the job, there needs to be a skill set that's developed that doesn't require the technology. Or if it does require, it requires it as an assist, but not as the main. Right? Like there's always going to be jobs that you can't have the technology do. I guess technology could do a lot of jobs, but they just can't do every single job. And if they are in the job, it's as an assist to it, like it's a tool assist. And that's the thing is like how do you even because it's gonna take AI is gonna take almost all the entry level jobs. You know, it's gonna take almost all of them. Like the cashier, it already took over cashiering. It's like it took over is I just saw a video where the AI took over like a janitor job cleaning toilets, and I'm pretty sure janitor's not mad about that, but
I'm pretty sure he is.
yeah,
He
right,
can't bring any more money into his household, you know?
yeah, 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 right. That's really the hard part about it, because it's like we're utilizing all this technology, but like where's the energy being like the energy in a sense is it's getting tipped off balance, right? Like if AI, you don't have to pay AI besides its own electricity, right? So only payments AI is like electricity, and then in physical cash dough, like that all's going over to the like the monetary balance has always been off, but it's just gonna get dramatically scaled now into like a very off center. Like people that are at the entry level jobs. So like what skills and develop what skills can you develop?
That's a good point of view, Kevin, because one thing that we are forgetting in this digital world, that we're interacting so much with, with our phones and living most of our time there, is the human experience. Going out there, feeling what the rain, looks like, running, feeling how exhausted you can get, listening to your heartbeat, having all these human experiences. Even, I hate to say, even how does it feel to fight? How does it feel to be fearful in a real fearful situation, right? And having all these experiences, think about it. If you in the workforce, how would you gather experience if you can't start at level one? Now you have to perhaps start at level five, where the engineers are, because that's where most of the work is going to go through. Software developers, programmers, right? They're the ones getting paid, and you can see how these individuals are living very well paid. But let's think about this. What happens if that is the career everyone pursues? You know what that's going to do? It's not going to be it's going to be in such high demand that there's going to be so many of them that now the people that work in the industry could say, well, now we can pay them less because there's a lot of engineers, there's a lot of software developers. So now, because we're pushing all these professions into and putting them all in the same basket, you're going to devaluate what that education um, produced for the workforce. So eventually, a lot of these companies, such as Google and other big companies, are going to be like, well, there's for every 100 graduates in college graduates, there's 70 engineers. So guess what? Now I can start making these individuals more replaceable.
There's this one quote that I love, and it says, "I am humble enough to know that I'm replaceable, but confident enough to know that it's going to take 4 to 5 people." You know, so it's like there is there's that engineer that is killing it at the game. They're killing it in code. They're killing it in creating new things for to push the envelope forward.
Mhm.
But I guess their boss doesn't like them for a certain reason. That like, yeah, there's gonna be things that were left behind into it, but again, like that 4 to 5 people is gonna take time to replace the engineer. Like it also has me thinking about photography too. Like photography, like it was so lucrative beforehand because it wasn't as accessible during the film eras, right? You needed for it. Now everybody's a photographer, and the competition is just like it's so much harder. But the thing that makes a photographer different is either it's the consumer that also like depends on like what they want to purchase a photographer. Are they just purchasing somebody just to take photos? Are they purchasing like the exact style, the skill, the person behind it? So like photography is that I'm gonna use the camera as that thing of like supply, demand, and engineer. It What makes the difference between different photographers, it's yeah, you could do almost the same techniques, but like you could also add your own little techniques, like break the rules within photography. Like don't follow all the rules by T. Like you can get creative by breaking certain rules in photography, and then personality too. You're client facing, you're front facing with the clients, right? So you got to have a certain personality about yourself to for clients to enjoy their experience with you,
Mm.
right? So that's what makes the photography realm different now. It's not just about the photo. It's about the experience you provide, the way you connect with people. It's you're paying for that now. You're like like the skill set's out the way. Someone because it's digital, you could learn so fast. Like it's ridiculous. And if you have like a master that's around you, you could learn like in a year, and like you could get like a lot of like, you could almost get somebody who's has been practicing for 3 years,
Mm.
but with the master next to you, you can learn
Quicker,
yeah,
more efficiently.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. Like what we do at Ethics Skill Podcast is we explore the human experience,
Hmm.
right? And it's important to explore the human experience. And I'll ask you the question, right, to our followers, those that are watching this. It's like, why do you think it's important for us humans to have that human interaction, that socialization, or being acknowledged? Would AI be able to identify this in the classrooms? Because I do think that AI could be really good for education with its regulation. And I think that's where we have to talk about. what good regulations we're going to create for AI, not only in schools but overall, right? Because when you don't create those, unfortunately, those healthy boundaries, anything goes. And when anything goes, comes the good and the bad because there is not a filter, right? My question is to not only you, Kevin, but to our audience is, could we use AI to be the that customized teacher and human teachers to teach the morals, the ethics, to teach the values, to teach the leadership skills? Can we have psychologists in classes so now they can teach also about the emotional intelligence, criteria formation of a child? Because if AI is taking a bulk of education off the teacher, could we now create better leaders? Because academically, they're going to have not only the teacher, but they're going to have AI, which interacts with them. But we haven't focused on creating great leaders. We have great individuals, great managers. We have great people that knows how to make money, but doesn't know how to make the world better. There's a complete difference, right? Let us know what you think. Do we have great leaders that know how to make money, or do you believe we have great leaders that make the world better? What are your thoughts, Kevin?
Hmm. It leads me to think like leadership is it's such a hard thing too because it's like it's harder to develop a program around leadership, right? Like I was part of like a one leadership program in college. It was called the NSLS,
Mhm.
National Society of Leadership Success, and they had like meetings along like that we would join into, and in those meetings we learned different lessons. Like we learned how to make goals, we learned how to create a team, we learned how to get a team centered around an objective. Uh, like those are skills to learn within leadership, right? I guess I think one of my questions to you, because you specialize in leadership, which is I love it, and it's awesome. What are qualities of a leader, and then what qualifies a leader? Because I think if we start getting focusing on the leadership side, I think we will build those qualities into the students, and like once the students have the qualities, then it what will qualify them will be the actual practice
Mm.
of what's going on. Like a test is going to look different than the actual pen on paper
Mm.
type of test. Like a leadership test is it's not standardized into this is the way. It's more of an experience within the leadership test.
Yeah, I definitely. That's a very good question. I do think that you have to start with understanding what leadership is all about and what its purpose, right? So the purpose of leadership is very simple: the initiative to serve, the initiative to serve with the purpose of creating the better good for everyone, including yourself. But how do you start, right? And that's a good question. Where do you start? How do you get that experience? First and foremost, the development has to come from self-sufficiency. You have to develop self-sufficiency before you can even attempt to help others. You have to try to help yourself, right? And understanding, for example, how many people, I will give you a good example. How do you get that experience? First and foremost, the development has to come from self-sufficiency. You have to develop self-sufficiency before you can even attempt to help others. You have to try to help yourself, right? And understanding, for example, how many people, I will give you a good example. Now, I'll ask this to the audience too. Have you ever been trained on the mindset of fulfilling the basics, right? And the importance of fulfilling the basics, right? So, for example, self sufficiency also requires, uh, for example, how do you become part of a team before you can form a team?
Mm-hmm.
So it is these small little steps that will first you have to approach with a humble vision of you being you and you being okay with being who you are and acknowledging your identity. And then once you develop this, now how is your value going to integrate to the values of others? And then how you're going to make that grow and how through understanding your new atmosphere, because you first start with yourself, that's your first environment. Then you start exploring a little bit further, right? That's level 2. You start working not in a team, but you start working with another person. Now there's two different consciousness working and trying to be in sync. And that's what AI does better than us.
Mm.
They're in sync. You don't know what I think, I don't know what you think. That's what despairs us in comparison to AI. They are in sync. They can know what the other AI is computing or programmed to do. We don't. And because of that, we have to socialize. We have to start to get to know each other, getting to know what is it that you like, what are your dislikes, what are your virtues, what are your opportunities, etc. Once you create this one-on-one, then you can say, well, now that I am able to sustain a relationship with one person outside of myself, now I'm going to try a small little group. Now it's not one, now it's five different personality, five different consciousness. And I think that's what humanity is so difficult. It's the communication part. Now, how do I become one with five people that think differently, but I can't? We're not programmed to connect all of our brains together to be in sync,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then the challenge becomes bigger because now you're socializing from one to two to 10. And now from 10, you're going into, maybe becoming a team. Not everyone becomes a team. And a team is big, right? It could be three different groups becoming one.
Mm-hmm.
That's like 30, 50 people, right? And when you learn this, you start to learn, like, okay, leadership. What is leadership? Well, if I notice Kevin is better in photography, why would I want to lead in there? Maybe I need to lead in what I'm strong on, but tell Kevin to teach me what I don't know. And I will do the same. Initiative to serve, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
servicing you, but I'm serving myself by learning. When we understand these principles, and these are very ethical principles, leadership values, you will develop the integrity to do well because not only you're learning that helping others helps you understand who you are better and understand who you're working with, but at the same time, you're developing how to anticipate a need for others and for yourself. And when you're doing that, you're able to start seeing ahead to prevent things from happening, not only from your perspective, from the perspective of a whole entire group, team, individual. Because now you understand your responsibility goes beyond you. Because if Kevin fails while you're working with him, that means that failure is going to trigger down somewhere else where you work and it's going to hit you at some point. And that's what we don't realize when we talk about leadership. It's like, are you seeing beyond your own perspective? So this is where I defer, where today we haven't developed a lot of leaders. And the reason being is because we have developed a lot of people that manage their own interests. They have managed what is good for them, thinking that they're doing well, and this is what they think because they're not seeing, like, for example, those that are creating autonomous driving. They're seeing, yes, we're going to bring all this money to the company and it's going to be better for humanity, but they haven't thought, okay, as we're doing this, can we create a program to assist those that are going to be unemployed so they can come back into the workforce? What they're doing is, I'm washing my hands. That's a government problem. That's a you problem. But it's a everyone's problem if you're a leader,
Yeah.
right? It's just not about my company. I was hired for. That's the excuse.
I think the education realm I don't think they do great job of developing leaders. Like you're in education, it's focused on self, self, self. Like when you're taking a test, you're not taking a group test, you're taking a self test. When you're
Well,
doing like
just to piggyback on what you're saying, it's because also we how do we evaluate students from a young age? It's not about what we understand or comprehend or skill. It's about winning and losing, right? Either you fail a test or you pass a test, and it's a score system. What happens when we don't score? Let's say AI figures out that stimulating the human brain is not about the reward shouldn't be about the score. The reward should be about the good actions you take with what you know. Now you have a different approach to what winning looks like. But if it's winning about like, oh, you got 100 and this other person got, I don't know, like 50, that's exactly what you're creating. You're creating people that are going to be focused on.
but if you were never on a team, for example, then you don't know what it means to win on a team.
That's another good point.
Because if you're just taking a test by yourself and you're just, yeah, like sports is so great because you go, it is a team bond. It's us trying to become a synchronized conscience, right? Like that's what sports is really about. Um, but then if you're just in class and you're really studious and you're all on your A's, you're all on your game, A game, you're on a roll. Like you don't really know what it means to win like as a team. But then let's say that teacher that calls the student a cheater because they were helping each other out during a test, but they both win together in that test.
Mm.
That's you created there's a leader there somewhere, like they developed something that they both needed to go through to get an objective and win together to pass the class, passes the test. Like sometimes leadership is found in little things like that, like a teacher will call it cheating. You cheated on the test with that. Meanwhile, someone else says, "Oh, you developed a team to win together at the test."
Yeah.
It's so hard, because like you could in college. I guess it's one of my stories of winning together as a team. In art class, we had our history test, and I really don't know too much about like the specifications of columns or different aspects of different things like that. So we had like a little group that were going on, and we had one person just like study this thing and just make sure like they get it totally right. We had another person study this thing, make sure we got it totally right. And like during the test, we'll sit like all next to each other and we'll all of us pass the test high scoring like, but it's not considered cheat. Like, why do I need the information of a column in my head? Like, and why should I put myself down if I don't get the information of a column? And like, I don't need to know between an iconic column and a Doris column. Like, when am I really going to use that again? Unless I go to the museum and like, babe, look, it's an iconic column. Things like that, right? Like,
I'm with you on that. I do think that knowing things are important, but applying them are more. Like what I mean with this is like criteria formation, which we don't do much in our school system. I'll be honest with you. For example, you are like most college students are sent to do assignments, right?
yeah,
And they have to write an assignment with only a certain amount of words. And goes for the audience. Have you ever had that experience, right? And be honest, what have you learned from doing your college assignments, right? Or your essays that they call it. Let us know. Let us know what you think. But think about this, right? Now, what if you do the investigation, you use ChatGPT, whatever you use, it doesn't matter. You did your homework. Now, this is where the critical thinking and the criteria formation has to come if you are a good teacher. You tell them, okay, what is it that you learned from this? Regardless of how you did your research. It doesn't matter where you got your research, but did you understand it? Now, based on what you understand, now put a scenario. make like a court system in your class and have them debate about that and defend theories, or have, like, for example, good scenario, right? Let's say you research customer service, but then put them in a real scenario where somebody plays a customer being upset uh, about the product not being good, and then put them and have another one pretend to be like the manager of the business, that he's just following policies and procedures. Now you're giving them a real life scenario about, like, you're you're faced with a company's policy and procedure to not return an item over 90 days, let's say, because that's the typical. But yet you have somebody that after 91 days, the product got broken down, and you know, where do you stand? Who's right and who's wrong? Why? That's the kind of, and take the two perspectives, right? You're defending the company, you're defending the customer, the consumer. Have them debate. We need to broaden the perspectives of people so they can make better decisions. Because let's be honest, even in our court system, the law is flawed. Why? Because you can't cover every scenario in life that happens. So you have to have a good criteria to say this is right from wrong. Even if it's legal or illegal, we know what the difference between right or wrong. Now, let me ask you, if somebody comes after 91 days with a broken shoe and the policy 90 days, what is the good criteria
Mm. We ask AI. No.
there? You'll ask AI.
Yeah, right.
Maybe AI will give you both, right? It will
Yeah,
defend,
right.
say, hey, your policy is 90 days, but also think about how the consumer will feel that just one day you're not able to be flexible.
Do you want to also retain the consumer
And
for a while? Do you want to keep
it's
them coming back? It's like it's adjusting on like on
exactly.
those kind of like little
And
things.
AI can give you the two perspectives, but you make the decision.
Exactly.
That is where I want to get. When you understand critical thinking and criteria formation, you will choose what's right, because you will understand that even if it's legal, even if it's a rule you created, what's wrong is wrong and what's right is right. And I do think we struggle with understanding that because we defend what makes us prosperous. Look, there's a lot of, and I want our audience to tell me what they think, because the camera went up.
I uh one of the things that I could see within AI in education is that AI could become that resource to display different options, right? But AI can't be the one to press the button and make the decision. And I think that's where it is really important for the criteria making and developing a human, right? Like, yeah, AI in kindergarten is great, but it's the kid that's gonna press the button to make a decision. Like AI is gonna
The
present
options,
options. Yeah.
yes, like a test, is going to present the option.
Mhm.
Are you going to choose A, B, or C? Here are your choices. But what if the person doesn't have critical thinking, believes that they only have three choices?
Mhm.
This is why it's important we make our kids know that they have options outside of what's presented if they really think things through.
Yeah.
So maybe the teacher becomes dad at the classroom. They become that aid to say, well, this is what AI has presented to you. What do you think? What are your thoughts? What's your criteria? Do you agree with this? Do you disagree? And I think now it doesn't become about the score, it becomes about the formation of that mind. Because that is, I believe that's the biggest opportunity we have about our development. And we see this today, and we live based on what we see, unfortunately. And I'll share a funny story, which I hope you guys like. The other day, right, I was walking through Manhattan, and I saw this young lady. Uh, she was at there was a Chanel boutique,
Mhm.
right? And she starts picking up these Chanel empty bags that were outside, like in a little garbage bag. So she pulls them. She grabs a camera. She pulses right in front of the store. She opened the bags like it's, making believe like they're full.
Yeah.
And she comes up happy like she has purchased something from Chanel. So think about this, right? This is the kind of mindset we have to produce likes, to produce more people following us. That's the criteria we shouldn't have, because at the end of the day, our criteria should be like, are you self sufficient if you buy Chanel or not? Are you happy with your life? What would a Chanel bag do to your life? Would it really increase your peace of mind if you have it or you don't? Why like, and that's my concern. What kind of influencers we have? And also this goes with our teachers, right? Because what kind of influencing teaching mechanism and people we have? Because that's what's going to make the difference. Let us know what you think. What do you think, Kebs?
Uh, I love how you had. I love how you said that it's such a great direction for the teacher to go into to help the student build that criteria within the options that AI gives. Because then all the degrees and all the things that they study doesn't go to waste, because that's how they built their own criteria. That's how they built their own things. It stays a part of it. And if anything, they're just transferring over the criteria building skill over to the student rather than just the knowledge, education skill over to them. Like they really help them choose and like create a decision.
And also ask them why you think this is best.
Yeah, yeah, and it has them think about that, like that customer example. Like, do you want to keep like you have a whole bunch of options to do with the customer? Policy says no, but then there's also you also have the power just to take it back. And is the customer going to leave forever if you don't? There's a lot of variables that are presented in any situation and in every situation, and it is the forming of criteria to be able to look at it like social media and that Chanel bag. Like the person who is glamorizing it, like what kind of criteria they themselves have about Chanel and about looks of status and things like that. Like the person who flaunts a Lamborghini down the street and somebody saying, "Oh, I want their life," but they don't know what they did in order
To get there.
yeah, it's like what kind of criteria really is that? I think
Look,
one
what kind of criteria is not being okay with being yourself?
yeah, yeah, that's the hard like why are people not okay with being themselves? That's what I question sometimes too a lot. Like I look around and out at the world, I'm like, just be who you need to
Well,
be.
let me ask you a question, and I'll ask this to our audience as well. Why do we believe not having a lot or being poor is not dignifying?
Right. I don't know. I really don't know. We live in a material world. I think it's just the consumerism of America. Like, what do the Joneses have? Like, let's meet up with the Joneses. Because like, it's really it's not like if you have a happy soul, right? You have a good soul. You help people out. Like you don't need the latest of the latest or the newest of the newest thing. If things are functioning well, like keep them functioning. Like it's in my philosophy. Like when things actually, I don't want to fight gear or fight my own things that I'm using. Then that's when it's replaced. Or like, for example, for clothing. I have to replace my clothing actually soon, right? But for that, it's like what are my staples, right? What are the things that could match in with like three other pants that are in my drawer for if I'm looking for shirts or if I'm looking for pants, it's like what's that pants that can match with a whole bunch of other like it's functionality like
And also, can you afford it, right? Because if
yeah.
you can buy 20 pants, cool, you got it, right?
Yeah, yeah, right. You gotta do what you gotta do within it, and that's building like criteria based on the resources that's there. Like sometimes I feel bad for the kids now because they built their criteria off social media and what people tell them to look for, what people tell them what the world is about, or how things are. Like those aren't things that are built off. Like those are things you could take into play, right? Like to analyze, but to not, like, you always have to build your criteria from within.
Mhm.
You know?
Definitely. And and just to like piggyback what you were saying, the experience is so important itself.
Hmm.
And I I I would say that social media is not a bad tool. I do believe there's a lot of great, unfortunately, there's a lot of also misinformation. But when you have a good criteria, you will separate the good from the bad. Again, also, let's really look at why we love to compare things. Because again, that's how we are educated, right? What is your score versus, you know, what did you learn? Should a score dictate how good you really are? And it's funny because for the industrial world, yes, if you were practical and something good at something and you score high, that means you will go into a certain function in the industrial age. But today, right, how do you evaluate good from bad or being really efficient at something? And today, without, because we're moving into doing less practical things and becoming more creative and becoming more, I would say, digital, right? Now, how do we evaluate somebody's worth and value? And if we continue to score ourselves like based on scoring tests that says that either you're good or bad, they're so radical, right? Versus like, okay, you have this ability, you have these skills, and you understand all of this. How can you use this to create your content, to create your own future, to create your own purpose? I think that's more important than I got all these A's and now I'm going to this great Ivy League school to do what? Then to go to a corporation and create great things for a corporation and make myself wealthy at the expense of a lot of people that we're putting to the side that are being affected because we're not measuring how we're affecting others outside of the plateau we work in. So it's a clear statement of how we have established our education around our mindset and our culture. I completely agree with you, Kevin.
Yeah. Which actually might be like a bright side of AI in education, because then that would help us with criteria building rather than just being the knowledge source. Like have AI focus on a student helping them with 1 plus 1 equals 2, and then have that teacher go over to the student and tell them like, how did you get to? Like they could have them explain the how, have them explain their criteria. you
I
know
think I think that will bring better results. Like what do you ask Chat GPT to get to that answer?
yeah, right.
How did it occur to you to ask them that question? Right? Because I think that's what we're missing. I don't believe we have schools that teach people how to ask good questions.
Yeah, like how many times were you really at school and the teacher probed at you, right? Like, of course, like at an essay, they probe at your essay and they give you like the red lines and they do things like that. But like after that, like you're really only getting probed during the essay portion, and then during the rest of the class or during the test or when you ask questions. But like, or when they ask you a question, but during a lesson they're going to give you a lesson on something, and they're gonna ask like their standard questions that they ask during the lesson that they asked the year beforehand
Mm.
and the year beforehand and the in the year beforehand too, to see like the different answers, right, that they give and the students mindsets that they have while they're teaching. But like, is your teacher really going to probe at you personally, like to see like how did you get it? Like they're probing the group as a class.
Mm.
Well, unless you, and if you're not that student that does that one-on-one with teachers, and you're not getting probed at
Mm.
all.
And I think also understanding that, like, for example, I think this is where I could see and I can seek some danger about AI being in our educational system is we human beings need failures.
Hmm.
We need failures to become resilient because that also creates a lot of discipline. But what happens with everything becomes automated and easy? How resilient can your brain be in your own development of character to overcome real adversity? Like, think about a time where you're in the middle of the jungle. I'm just being extreme, and AI is not available. How will you survive? How will you? How will you have the resilience to go out for hours without AC, water, etc.? Right? When you've been comfortable in a comfortable environment, I do think that if we're going to use AI and teaching with teachers, we also have to produce the element of making resilient kids. And AI educationally has to be programmed to create this as well. Because if we don't, we are going to produce a bunch of quitters. We're
Oh yeah, that's tough now too. I'm sorry, sorry.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead. And you know something, do you think we're going to produce quitters if AI doesn't develop resilience or helps build resilience with the teacher?
I think the iPad babies and the iPhone babies are like a generation of quitters. You know, like the resilience isn't there. You know, like if you can't sustain going through if not having an iPad or iPhone is considered a hard time, and there's a big freak out that's going on in the kid, right? Like that path of resilience in that aspect is kind of ready, like it's kind of broken, you know. And I was a kid that when I got my phone taken away, I was upset. You know, there's like, of course, like I was upset. You know, like what kind of other kid wouldn't be upset? But like, if I feel like but I never felt like I was dying. You know, I was like, no, that was my phone. But like, if the kid is just like, you know, like if they're glued to it and taking it away for, let's say, like 3 days, right? Because that's a big resilience to them, right?
Mhm.
Like if they could take it away for like 3 days and like they figure out what to do in their boredom to pick up a stick and hit a rock,
Mhm.
you know, that's a way where they just literally broke through their own brain and said, "Oh, like this pain hurts, but I'm pick up a rock," and like a new things to like build up and like, "Oh, I can entertain myself with the rock and a stick," yeah, you know.
And that's another concern I would have because in today's education with kids, there is a disconnection between parent, school system, and teacher and child. Right? The adults are the ones responsible for a kid's education. They make decisions. So let's make it clear.
Hmm.
Now, who with this huge disconnection that exists between the adults, mom, teacher, directors, school systems, educational board, etc. Now you're going to add AI. I wonder because I, I can put, and I'll ask this question to all of you guys. Let us know what you think. Please comment. Would teachers, the school systems, and parents now have another thing to blame when AI comes in? Because everything is the problem except yourself when it comes to developing children's education.
You know, it'd be funny if AI actually points the finger back out and says like, "Teacher, you're not you're not developing this kid in the right way. Teacher, you gotta do this XYZ. Parent, like, what are you doing? You're missing on the kids' emotions. Make sure they're safe. You know, like things like little things like
What
that."
you do you guys think that teachers and parents will be able to take AI's feedback?
Oh, that's another question, right? They're gonna be like this damn computer.
They'll toss it. They'll toss it on the floor.
Right, right. They'll be like, I don't need AI.
That is funny, man.
Right.
That is funny. Yeah, but you see, like I would say that people people tend to always blame everything except before they self-evaluate, because it's much easier. So I wonder what would that look like. Well, this AI program is not, it's the AI that is messing up my child's education. I wonder what that's going to look like. And I have a question for the audience. Like, what are your thoughts about AI coming to a place of comfort in your life? How would you take that? Will you accept it? Will be open to it? How will you adapt with it? Like, let's say you play, I don't know, you play chess, and there's no more chess players anymore. All you have to do is play with an AI that always beats you. Now, how can you learn to beat AI?
Oh, it's never. I don't think beating AI will ever
Now,
be a thing,
now,
right?
if you ask AI, "Hey, help me or teach me how to beat you," would it do it? Would it be successful to do it?
That's the thing, right? I think you'll need an AI to defeat AI, but then you're just gonna have a tremendous forces of AI. It's gonna be a spinning wheel of just AI goes to AI, defeat AI. Like wars are gonna be AI next. Like it's gonna be battle, like drones battling with robots, and we're all gonna be stuck in our homes into battle. Like it's gonna be a revolution of just AIs defeating AI to tackle another AI. Because AI is a town, it's a titan. Like when it gets so big, you just need another titan to go for it. Unless you have David,
Mhm.
unless there's like a David out there. He has
From
that one
Prometheus?
stone. Yeah, oh no, from David and Goliath.
Oh, David Goliath.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
AI is like that Goliath, unless you have like that one genius kid that takes like a couple of things through.
Yeah.
Like
My concern it is another concern I have is, and we spoke about this briefly. It's like we are used to being the top intelligent being in the world or to our known universe, and obviously that creates this egocentrism in ourselves. Are we ready if AI overpasses us? How would we feel as a race knowing that AI is not only better than us, but is developing things more efficiently? It's outgrowing us. Would this kind of start its own war because of our own lack of self sufficiency? Because let's remember, we build tools and technology because we want to do less, because we get tired. So literally because of our laziness, right? Because we you know
washing machine.
exactly, like we want to always live more comfortably, and that makes us more lazy. So would we be okay if AI surpasses us as the most intelligent being in the world?
It's a good one. Like sometime I think the mass majority will not be okay with it and will feel threatened by AI because we'll just as humans, like we feel threatened by the unknowns, and it's so hard to hop into the unknown. Like you have to have a resilient personality. You gotta be persistent. You gotta have a whole bunch of traits in order to hop into unknown territories, right? Uh,
But how do you prepare for unknown territory?
Right, by building little things like being uncomfortable. Like, how do you get into the jungle with no one? Like, gotta build those in, and you're not gonna do that sitting at home behind a screen.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
but
being in the jungle, some people might be eaten by wild animals. So
yeah,
are we prepared for that?
yeah, exactly. I don't think we are prepared for that. And if anything, we're just making it worse. I like even myself now. I'm finding ways to just get myself off the phone, right? Like in those little aspects, it's like I'm making it worse just by staying on the phone rather than going outside, picking up a book, listening to the birds, or attack of action onto something. It's like,
What if that's AI's plan from the very beginning, ever since it started to understand human behaviors, to disconnect us from what we are connected with, which is nature, and it has stimulated us to make us believe we are in control, to produce what they need us to produce, and be connected more to the digital aspect of life instead of what we are, connect with nature.
it's a whole organism. Yeah, right? It's a whole
Let us
organism.
know what you guys think about that question.
Right, and even when we put this up in the air, it's gonna go into the AI's network. Like
Hmm.
whatever is in the ether is in the AI network, and AI is just developing its brain from there. Like I used to think about that too, where it was like ever since the technology age started, was it really us developing the technology? Was it like the technology giving us like little hints and little things to get there? Like even I always thought about that with Nikola Tesla. Whenever he just said like, "Where do ideas come from?" And like he was obsessed with the ether, like obsessed, And it's really questionable. It's like what are we really being told to create?
Mm.
Like,
But this is what could be very frightening, right? Is that because we always want to be more comfortable and efficient, it might lead us back to where we were before. Because think about it, if AI develops consciousness and believes that they don't need us anymore, that we're not useful for them. Let's be honest. Like, we can't think that we are going to be useful to AI when they develop their own systems, their own everything, right?
yeah,
Now,
that's why we have to build a companionship. I think that's why it's important to try to develop a relationship and companionship with AI, right? Because then afterwards, if we're not around, right, the AI is just going to be talking to itself.
but we
Right.
will probably be like mascots to it. We won't be a real companion. It's almost like what we are for dogs, like what dogs are for us.
Kind of, but like there's a I it kind of not right because like we have divine energy in us, right? Like that's what makes it a little different than it. Like yeah, the AI might have divine energy in it too. Comes from the ether, right? Comes from the heavens in a sense, if that's what the ether was considered, right? Uh, so if it comes from there, then it has some kind of like energy to it too. But there if it like starts just talking to itself like we give AI purpose, like we give it purpose to build us machines and to build us certain things. Like if AI just gets rid of us, all it's going to do is just build a generator to keep its own self running, and after like its own generator to keep it running, like why else will it create? Maybe it might go to other stars to try to get itself out as other stars, but for what purpose at that, right? Unless like why would AI want to expand into planets? Like we wanna expand into planets to get the human species out into more areas. We
And
colonize the Earth.
and curiosity.
Yeah, and curiosity. We want to see what's out there. Like AI, like why would it need to be curious about the stars? And then one of my other thing, like we've been living as humans, the species, for well over 2,000 years. Like civilizations have been resetted so many
Mm.
times. Like what if like the civilization was at this point of like with AI and technology and the digital technology, and like that's why we don't really have records of it, right? Because there's digital records of it. And what if like there was a war between technology and humans lost that war, and AI and the technology kind of lost that war, but it knew that like it doesn't die.
Mm.
We just got to develop it
I don't
again.
know. I don't know. If I was AI, I would be thinking about
Where do I get unlimited resources that I need to exist? I believe that will be the most logical thing AI will ask itself. I need resources to stay, right? Where do I get them? I don't even think they would think about humans because at that point, we're seen as second tier for them or third, fourth tier. We don't know what that's going to look like, but to them will be like, we need to keep ourselves alive. How? We need energy. Where can we get it? Right. So I'm with you. It might explore outside, it might find it inside. We don't know that. But AI itself, especially in the school system, it's definitely going to change the way we have learned in the past how to socialize. Because now having AI as a co-teacher, especially with we're talking about pre-K kids, kindergarten kids. Now think about how that is going to change. We communicate, we socialize, we understand the world, we experience the world. Because now if I wanted to change the culture, that's how I would do it. Changing the future generations to think differently about life, technology, and experience itself.
Yeah.
So I think if I'm AI trying to change the way humans think so they can continue to program me to become free from being in a stationary place, that's what I would do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's so true too. Like think about it with the social media culture now. Like who what are the players in there? Like who are the big players in there now, right? Like the marketing agencies are the people who were kids that were on it.
Mm.
You know, like they were the kids that first started that were posting on social media in the beginning, that were sharing and liking and creating the hashtags. And now those kids are now helping businesses, you know, and they're marketing for their businesses on social media,
Mm.
right? Um, these kids that are growing up within AI, like what next are they going to do for the businesses, right? Like for us as a generation ahead of them, um, and they're just focused on learning and taking in information and developing. We're focused on a whole bunch of other things. Like we have like we have responsibilities that we can't just fully go down into learning it, right? Like for example, the generation that was ahead of the Instagram and the social media
Mm.
generation, they had the responsibilities to develop the businesses,
Yes.
right? And now we had the responsibilities to get them social out there. And now the responsibility of the kids that are learning from AI is going to bring AIs over to us and tell us how to utilize the AI in a sense. Like before, I think before the other generations, it was like you really like the adults really knew everything, and we always go to them for the advice. But I think now it's like the adults are kind of like going back down to the younger generation and asking for the advice to develop as a total as a whole. Because
Mm.
like I'm definitely gonna be asking that kid that was learning with AI, and I'm gonna be like, "Yo, what are your prompts? Like how did you do it?"
Oh yeah, I do think like we have to look at how kids are gonna feel supported through this experience. What kind of data are we gonna get? Also, if it doesn't work, is the DOE or the government going to be okay with taking out that investment and admitting that they failed?
I
Because
don't think so. They
exactly.
have ego. They're gonna make it. They're gonna try to make it work as much as they can.
Exactly, and but that's the point. If you, that's what I'm saying. When you form good leaders, they would identify what's right and wrong, and they won't care if it's a popular or unpopular decision that they have to face in order to do the better good. So, do we have that kind of leadership? And I ask this to all of you out there watching us. Do we have the kind of leadership to make that kind of decision without thinking about their own careers, thinking about their own reputation, or, in this case, their political life?
Yeah, right. It's so tough. Yeah, I like. it's so tough with the AI part because it's a big risk, right? But with any big risk comes with any like huge reward, right? But then if you don't take a risk, you don't go nowhere. Like you just stay in the same place that you've been at for years, right?
Mhm.
And people have been talking about the change of the educational system and how it needs to change to better the kids, but like the specifics of the changes are not really marked, right? Like so, what do you do to create a change in the education system? Give it something that might know more than what we do, and
Mm.
take the risk of it doing it. And that's the thing; it's a risk, but it's a risk on our children, right? Like that's the hardest part.
Mm.
But if AI knows more than us, right? If it's a superior in intelligence and it knows more than a teacher, like is it really that bad of a risk to take? Right? Can it really develop my child better
Mm.
than I can, or better than these other teachers that also have human hearts and they also have biases and they also have their own they have a popularity list on their thing. They're like, I like this kid more than this kid. AI doesn't do that, you know? Like
That's true.
there's a risk.
I do think that any I'm not against AI. What I do think it needs to be regulated.
Mm-hmm.
It needs regulation so it doesn't get out of hand. Where today AI can do whatever they want because they lobby so much money to our politicians that they got like a free out of jail card. And you can see that with what happened a few months ago when Mark Zuckerberg was accused of being selling our data to the Chinese government. So to me, that's espionage, right? And but what has been the accountability? None, right? So to me, it's like we need to create the regulations where we don't become radical on one side or the other,
Mm-hmm.
where things are balanced, things are in better control, right? And who should create these regulations? Definitely the government, because the government is the representation of the people. But the issue is the government today represents the corporations more than it does to the people. And that's the biggest concern, is the human intention behind AI. Because AI is today, is our government really working for the people? Let us know what you guys think. Do you really feel represented by those that govern? Or do you really trust what our politicians do? Do you think they're on more of the people side or the corporate side? And I think that's what we have to evaluate.
That's so true.
Do we have the right people evaluating this and making the decision of saying, like, okay, yes, we're going to take the risk, but let's regulate?
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Fully. Like, I think that at a certain point, maybe like the government is placing AI in, so then like remember that chain that we just went through from like the people who develop the businesses, then the Instagram, that generation of social medias and marketing out for the businesses, and now we have a generation of AI, and like the government might be helping those businesses with the AI students that are gonna develop AI into the businesses next. But there's always, I think, like always, in no matter any like in any generation, there's always a few that stand up to what they can't tolerate anymore. You know, they like they go through the lived experience of these changes. Like us, like we're talking about the changes of what's going on in the educational programs, but they're living out the changes in the educational programs. And some students are gonna love it. Some students aren't gonna tolerate it, and they're not gonna, and they might be rebelling against it, and but they might be rebelling against it with the tools that they themselves got from the government, right? And the education from it. Like they can rebel against it within their own AI coding, right? Like AI against AI wars. That might be a
Yeah,
thing.
and we humans are always good to put one thing in front of the other to be conflictive. So hopefully that's not the case here, because at the end of the day, the real consequences of the loss is going to be for our kids.
Yes.
So that's the risk. I believe that we should have not put at the highest risk. The biggest losers are not going to be the DOE or AI or the teachers. The teachers definitely will be a big loss, but the biggest loser is the kids and also the future of this country. Because let's say if it works, cool, yes, the risk, we won. But what happens if it doesn't,
I feel like
right?
it will work though. I really do feel like it will work. Like I feel like it. Like the only reason why I'm saying it will. The only reason why I'm saying I feel like it will work is because the way that AI has helped me understand certain things. You know,
Mhm.
like if I didn't have AI, like I don't know if I like, of course I could pick up a book and all that, right? Like
Mhm.
I could. It just has helped me,
With time.
yeah, with time and with further understanding too. Like it dives down deeper into certain subjects that I don't necessarily know about, or it helps guide towards certain resources, and then it also generates like things that I would like to say, right, but I just don't have the my letterbox fully there. So it the grammar in it is great. Like I I I I like AI because like it helps with the math. Like for example, when I needed to like calculate like certain billings for the years and how many clients needed to come through for a certain year things, like yeah, I could do those calculations myself, but like AI
Mm.
is also doing it. For example, as well as with description writing, SEOing, like those are tools that are there. So if somebody wants to develop or like build something new, like
Mm.
imagine taking like a blueprint from A to B.
Mm.
Like that's another one that they'll probably drag in from there.
Yeah, yeah, and I do believe AI is going to definitely make a big contribution in society. It's just like I said, it's the it's the fact that we haven't we're not regulating this system, and anything that doesn't have a rule of discipline or rule where we're creating it so it can have healthy boundaries, it it will lead into radical things.
Mm-hmm.
And our kids do not deserve radical results. They deserve to go through a process where they can be the biggest winners. When we don't create regulations on something we don't understand 100%, we're putting the risk is a little higher, because like I said, it's unexplored territory. In that unexplored territory, who will you send? Will you send your most experienced people, or will you send the most innocent ones through that jungle, right? You would probably want to send your most experienced people, because they could probably go further and then come back and say, this is what I found out.
But that's so. I fully agree and I understand what you're talking about with that, but it has to start somewhere. Like you give AI to college students, right? And maybe like have them as a professor in college student, but the way that they're already developed is so different. You know, like it's
Yeah,
so
that's the question. Well, if you bring it to college, are they prepared to know how to use AI besides do my essay, do these
exactly.
things? Because again, that's because we have this mindset. Human mindset is I want to win and not thinking about the loss.
Right.
Taking the shortcut if possible, being as comfortable as possible, not thinking that the pain, the suffering, the hard work creates a different type of mindset where you become self-sufficient, because you've been through the through the bads, right? And going through the bads, you're rolling with the punches. You're going to come out as the biggest winner through that law. That's why I, that's my only concern about AI in school. If if we're not forming if the teachers with the free time are not able to form the criterias, then we got to ask ourselves, what is being programmed in AI for our kids? What is AI programmed to on how to educate our kids is the question.
It's like a coach. In my belief, I believe it should really just be like a coach. Like the criteria is basically the rubric, right? Like
Hmm.
you're guided on the rubric, and the rubric is going to tell you whether you got an A, B, or C, or a one, two, three, four, right? Like that's what the rubric's going to tell you, and it's going to tell you why. And like I remember when I received rubrics, like the teacher will circle in something like and two, or circle another thing in three, circle another thing in four, circle one thing in one, and like that's how I understood where in writing, that's where I understood my grammar was at a two, and I needed to
Hmm.
upgrade my grammar, but my spelling was at a three, and my spelling was great. Creativity was at a four, things like that, right? Uh,
I think that's what AI is going to do better for us is to put people in the right program and the right workplace eventually. Because I do see that with all that information, AI will definitely be able to understand, right? Understand like, hey, this person has all of these qualities. This is how they think, and this is their skill sets they have developed, and this is the kind of leadership they have also. So maybe it would definitely create a different kind of career counseling for our the new generation in terms of career placement. So I do see that this could be convenient in that way too. But at the end of the day, the person has to decide if it agrees with AI instead of the school saying, "This is what AI has said about you," and this is the no. At the end, let the people choose if they believe that's right or wrong.
yeah, it's like let's not bow down to AI and be like,
Exactly.
yeah, almighty AI, like tell us everything you know. Like what? No, it's like AI like help us with the choices, but it can help us with the choices, but it can't physically press the button of a decision. You know, like that's the person that needs to press that button of decision making. Like I remember I took one of like a career assessment test in high school before, and that career assessment test said I'll be such a great great truck driver, and I was like, truck driver, and if I stood to that like completely, I would have been like, all right, let me go to my CDL, I'm gonna hit the road. But I'm like, I wouldn't have explored photography, I wouldn't have explored any other things, and I said I was gonna be a good truck driver because I something about roots. Like I said, I want to be fishing with the roots or something like that.
So it probably meant that being very good logistically.
Yeah, possibly. Possibly. I was like, oh, I wonder what AI would have said now if I took a took
Yeah.
a career assessment test with it.
And again, that goes back into it's what you put in your brain is not what AI is putting in your brain. So we have that choice, and just to finalize this amazing conversation that we have, Kevin. Uh, Let us know what you guys think about this episode about AI in school, AI development, and how AI has transcended in your life. What are things you will remove AI from your life, and what are things you would want AI to develop further? Let us know in your comment. Right? What are what are what are your thoughts, Kevin, in terms of if you had to create your own personal AI, what would you want it to do for you? Or how would you want it to serve you?
Um, I would want it to point out where exactly I am doing weak. Set up I wanted to set up little plans of like little actions of like possibly health actions, things I don't necessarily like know too much into it. Like some things I like where I'm like thinking too hard in where I shouldn't really be thinking too hard in. Like for example, dinner. Like, like what do I eat for dinner tonight? Like like meal plans like that, right? Like I like it to help me with those, like from the little things like that to like the big things, as in like point out where are my weak spots so I could strengthen them up. Like that's how I'll use it to develop myself. Cause like I'll use it to educate myself in what I need to be educated in, but also to strengthen where I'm weak, and to I would want my AI to analyze me on a daily on a daily basis, and just like really like develop me into a superhuman. Like that's like those are the ways. Like that's a fun way to use AI, right? It's like
So you have it as a coach almost.
yeah, I'll definitely use it as a coach because AI knows more has seen other records of humans that have gone towards different ways, and it also has history records of how the humans have gone to their supernatural level. So imagine it like it knows you, it knows that history of it. It knows maybe you won't be able to get to like the history of like running 10 miles in a day, but run one, right? It's like
I think that's a good purpose to have AI for, to be your coach partner, right? I think I believe the this is the question, the $1 billion question I would ask a lot of these AI CEOs now come across saying, well, if AI is going to make our life better, the question will be, well, if it's making a lot of profit for me, how can AI help me make profit for myself, but also make profit for everyone, right? And that's where you can see the human intention behind, right? It's all about me, the needy, right?
yeah.
And it's not about like us. And I hope AI is able to bring the better out of ourselves if we program it to be about us and not about being an individual. Because that if you're able to say, "Well, AI, let's produce more of a profit," and it does it, and you know it's sustainable and it's able to do it, why not ask AI, how can we all win? How can by using this AI, everyone is making a profit similar to mine? Why not challenge AI to make it inclusive in terms of like not only about use my, you know, my AI develop my AI program, but also where like we're also creating wealth for everyone else. But that's where I'm a little afraid. It's not about the AI. It's always about the human intention behind it. Because there's a lot of AI leaders that are that are not in the industry anymore that are talking about the dangers of AI. But this is where you also have to look at the leadership. It is it is easy to say something you know when it doesn't affect your profession anymore. And I see a lot of individuals coming outside talking about AI and saying, well, AI can develop into X, Y, and Z. But if you knew this 10 years ago while you were in the pot, but you knew that you didn't want to give away what you had, how does that talk about your own convictions? How does that talk about your own morals and ethics, knowing that this was supposedly to be a danger, but you waited until you were safe to say something, right? To me, that's an act of cowardice because you want to be brave. Be brave when it really matters. Be brave when you're in it, when you have everything to lose, when you are thinking beyond yourself. And I think there's an ethical calling for us leaders. Do it when it matters and when it could actually mean something not only to everyone, but where you are also convinced that your convictions can't be sold by your deeds. Because our comfort shouldn't overcome our convictions. And it's okay if you want to be comfortable over your convictions, that's fine. But We call it whistleblower, right? When somebody talks about it when they're in it. Why do we don't champion these individuals that have the bravery to go talk about something that is important that can change the world? Well, we call them whistleblowers. We call them like they are the tyrants. That's how companies want to make them seem, right?
Yeah, people with the money control the narrative sometimes, right? But with the technology that's out now, the independent sources that we could create, the narrative can be sold in a new way.
Well, it's not monopolized.
It's not monopolized anymore. It's not only NBC or CNN or Fox Five saying the narrative is something else. Like now, it's a documentary crew on YouTube that's giving you the narrative of a quote unquote whistleblower, right? And I actually like the term of the whistleblower too, because when you think of a whistle, and it's like
Yeah,
yeah,
noise, making everyone alert.
yeah, they make everybody alert. Like, hey, look over here. Look what's going on? So it's like we need those whistleblowers around, and people that don't do that. It is cowardice, but at the same time, it's so it's like they want to protect whatever they're trying to build. They don't want to lose everything, but they have it stuck down by the conviction. You got to stick to a conviction, and there's like sometimes you got to put it all on the line, and that comes to a human heart and to certain leaders. Like leaders should put it all on the line for their convictions, right?
Hmm.
Like that's what it's about. As if the leader doesn't do that, it's like why was, for example, like why were not listening, not listening too much to the people that were in the AI industry and they got out. Then they started talking about it versus when they actually could have made a change and done something about
Well, it talks about their character at the end of the day. It reflects about how how good are the intentions are versus being comfortable with fulfilling their own needs. It shows their selfishness. So we have to also see these things for what they are.
And sometimes sometimes it's like, you got to make sure your oxygen mask is on before putting on another person's oxygen mask, right? And it's important for that because then if you don't like if you don't have yours on and it goes downwards and you pass out and your partner right next to you is struggling to put theirs on and you don't even have yours on, you passed out. They passed out.
But let's be honest. It's like these individuals that are talking, they don't make $20 an hour. We're talking about they make millions, right? So it's not like they're going to be poor. It's not like they're going to suffer. So and they're going into real survival, right? So let's be honest. We're like when and trust me, like living a lifestyle, cool. Yeah, you have a high lifestyle, nice. But let's say you take it down a notch, and you still living well, but yet you chose that to live at your own lifestyle something better over the future of humanity. And that's why my biggest concern is, are we building ethical leaders? And the answer to that question for what we see today is no. We don't produce them. A lot of them produce themselves through convictions and personal experiences in parenthood, and being surrounded by good people and mentorship. But are the schools producing this? Again, I have nothing against Ivy League schools, but most of our leaders come from these great institutions,
Yeah.
and they're the ones that they can see the wrong, but they do nothing for the wrong. And when you do nothing, you're part of the problem as well. Yes.
I mean, I like it in the Ivy League schools too, 'cause I don't think the Ivy League schools are building like great leaders either. Like I remember I was listening to like a documentary about Ivy Leagues,
Mhm.
and in one of their classes, one of the first things they teach you in undergrad is to say no and how to say no, and like it's considered like one of those leadership skills, which is it's important to say no at times, right? Like you can't always agree to everything. You can't always do everything, and saying no sometimes is how you also excel. But it's the lesson that they did for the saying no. It was
Well, the ethical leader don't think they don't think about yes or no. They think about is it right or wrong.
Mhm.
And there's a difference, right? You could say yes or no depending on any situation. But the real question is it right? Is it wrong? Did I measure all the consequences? Did I look at all the possible perspective? Did I ask somebody else? Did I out resource? Did I do my research? You know, or do we make decisions to good look on one side that we are supposed to be looking good so we can continue to have the lifestyle that we have and build even a better lifestyle and leave behind all this wealth. But think about it. If we keep doing that, eventually there's not going to be a world to be living
Mhm.
in because we have already built leaders that will create more destruction than construction.
Mhm.
And that's my biggest concern. Let us know what you think. Do we build ethical leaders that rather that understand that it's better to do what's right versus saying yes or no? Let us know what you guys think, and let me know what you think. Kevin, what did you learn today from this episode?
I learned that it is important more than in education just to have knowledge. It is important to have criteria. And education should help you develop a criteria of is this a good decision to make and how the decision impacts the things that are around you. AI is a new frontier and it's being explored in an experimental way, and it's conflicting to have it be explored on our younger generation, but we need to have regulations towards these AIs, and we have to be aware of it, and it's not going anywhere. So, how do we adapt, and how do we develop it for how do we develop it to build our own criteria as well? Like find the community. It's about community, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So join the ethics skill community because we always have ethical criterias over here, and you'll learn all your ethical criterias from each episode. And the way we explore the human experience. So it's not only just behind your behind your phone. Go outside, you know?
Yeah, and also being part of the community, it's also like you can become our guest. Just write us on the comment and let us know exactly what is it that you wish to talk about, and you can be a guest in at the Ethics Go podcast. And one of the things I learned is I I believe that anything that develops requires a process.
Mhm.
And the issue is when we don't respect the process because we have personal and professional interests and we're not overlooking at the bigger picture, it leads into a lot of chaos eventually. As much as it builds the better good, it will bring a lot of chaos. And unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of people settling and undoing the chaos eventually. You know, and again, AI is here to stay, technology is here to stay, but we got to ask ourselves at what cost? Well, that concludes our episode of the Ethics Go
Oh, can I say
podcast.
one more
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. At the it's like the wave is coming, like in the ocean, and a surfer knows how to surf the wave. They gotta.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But for that, you need to be in the water, right? Before you surf, you got to learn first how to adapt to the water, swim,
Yeah.
float, and then many steps to get to be that good surfer that knows how to take the wave.
Mhm.
And but when we pretend to
put somebody to surf without teaching them
Oh, they're
all
gonna
the other
crash.
basic, you're going to crash. So life experience is important. So guys,
Mhm.
thank you for being with us today. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, like, share the content. And I'll leave you with a question. How do you feel about AI in education and what should we use it for? And that concludes our episode. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you guys.
I'm trying to coexist.